Hey, everybody, we are the robots after all,
I'm Andrew.
and I am Tom. And today's topic is Borderlands. Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. But first, we got a robot of the week,
We
per
do have a lot
usual.
of.
What do we got today?
So our robot of the week is Dinobot from Beast Wars.
Wow.
So we've got this really cool masterpiece figure. They did a few of these for the Beast Wars line. This is one of the best ones, though. I mean, the detail's insane, articulation's incredible, and I actually he's very very difficult to transform. But I did bring out the box. I just wanted to show how cool the dinosaur mode was too. So I don't know if you can see this, but
Oh, yeah.
dinosaur mode pretty much is animation accurate. The robot mode is pretty much animation accurate, and they really just outdid themselves with this particular figure. So super
Yeah,
cool.
I remember just talking to you about it, and it was just like, how cool is it that it looks exactly like it did in the cartoon?
Yeah, and
And
the
just
Masterpiece line has done that with pretty much all the figures they've come out with. So it's just amazing that they keep churning these things out.
yeah, nice
Super cool.
articulation, nice shiny bits. His fingers all move too.
Yeah, his fingers move, and they're actually like razor sharp. So you have to be careful when you're actually moving them, but they're all like individually jointed. Like he's actually got a
Ooh,
few knuckles and whatnot. So pretty cool. And those would make up his feet when he's in the dinosaur mode. The
that's a
hands,
good robot television show, Beast Wars.
very cool.
Remember seeing it spottingly. Like, I don't think I just would watch every episode as one of those shows I kind of watched here and there.
Yeah, I
And
didn't catch the whole storyline, but I loved it. It was actually one of the first shows that actually had full CG animation, so it was kind of exciting, and it was way better than any kind of like video game graphics that you would have seen at the time. So that and Reboot were two shows that really stood out in that way.
yeah, I was going to mention Reboot. That was a fun one. Um, yeah, the graphics were always just like, whoa, I can't believe they're doing this. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I would say.
yeah, I can see that.
The
As,
entirety of
as,
the show.
as 14-year-old Tom. Wow.
Wow. Um,
Let's talk Borderlands.
yeah, let's get right into Borderlands. Let's just do it, man. So I don't know too much about Borderlands, the first one, but I remember owning it, and a friend of mine had it, and he played it a lot more than me. Um, but what was your experience? Because I feel like you might have you've played through it and beat it.
I did play the first one. So the way I was introduced to Borderlands is a friend of mine that I used to play a lot of online games with. He was like, "You got to play this game. It's amazing. It's like a looter shooter." And I was like, what is that?" And I'm not interested. So I totally missed out on the first one when it came out. And then the second game came out, had crazy marketing, and people were kind of off the wall for it. So I was like, I have to play this game. And just because I'm so specific about certain games, I want to play them in order to kind of experience the difference from game to game. So I ended up buying both Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 1 and kind of made a pact with myself that I would finish the first game before starting the second game. And I did. And the first game was awesome. I mean, I'm glad that I played it first, because going back to Borderlands 1 after playing, say, like 2 or 3 or pre-sequel would be kind of a rough go, just with all the kind of quality of life improvements,
Right.
graphical improvements from the new games. But I loved it. The story was amazing. Or at least for the type of game that it is, the humor was standout. I really enjoyed the weapon system and how you kind of would, in that game particularly, the vending machines are kind of your main way to get legendary gear or just like really good guns. Like if you're struggling in an area, you can kind of just farm the vending machines and get a good gun.
In the
Um,
first game, you could also do that.
yeah, and they were much more like prevalent. Like a legendary would pop up in a vending machine a lot more often than they do in the. I mean, legendaries are pretty much never in the Borderlands 2 vending machines.
Right. And then three, they kind of overdid it a little bit because now
Yeah,
I recently
they're
played it, and then you can get them almost every time.
and that's closer to the first game. Actually, when I was playing 3, I was like, oh, they went back to the way it was in the first game.
So yeah, yeah. And Borderlands 1, I remember really being into it, but for some reason I got detoured or something, and I never played through it, even though I kind of wanted to. And I've tried to go back to it, and it's hard for me because it is a little bit slower since it came
Rough.
out for
Yeah.
what was it, the Xbox 360 generation?
Yeah, I mean, Borderlands 1 and 2 were on the same generation, but I think
Were
just
they?
Yeah, it's just the vision was just, that much bigger for Borderlands 2.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't realize they were on the same generation.
Yeah.
And the first one, so you had the main characters. You had the bird guy. Do you
Mordecai.
remember? Huh?
Oh wait, was it Mordecai?
Mordecai.
Is
Or
Mordecai the bird or is Mordecai the guy? Now I'm actually questioning myself.
the bird is called
Bloodwing.
Bloodwing. There you
You're right.
go.
It is Mordecai.
Then you had um, the siren, Lilith,
Yep. Brick.
and
And
Brick.
Brick. And then the most important character.
Um, oh yeah,
Roland.
Roland. Oh my gosh, thank you, Roland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The main
I remember
good guy.
playing Mordecai at first because I thought he was the most fun because he had the little bird you could throw, Bloodwing, and attack people with it. So this was one of the first game like FPS shooters to really do like looting, really, right?
I think so, yeah.
Like all the blue epic, like kind of World of Warcraft style where you have the different colored loot and also the numbers over the head. It was like that, it kind of revolutionized the number, like people wanting to see numbers of damage coming out over the enemy's head. And that made the game so satisfying in that sense where you could just go through a stage, pick out all the enemies. It just felt like you were really like in the game and doing a lot of like in like a part of the action that was going on. It was very satisfying.
Yeah, I think that it added to the progression system in a way that just kept you wanting to go. Like, even if you're playing the same thing over and over again, like the fact that you're getting the numbers to go up. I mean, I definitely fell victim to this in Skyrim as well, where it was like, I just wanted to get all of my gear to just like level up, level up, level up kind of thing, or all the skills to level up. And this game is kind of the same type of like dopamine release where you're just like constantly looking for the next best gun, combos of things to kind of get the numbers above the enemy's heads to be higher and higher damage.
Get him up there. I remember thinking, and to go off topic from Borderlands, but Final Fantasy VII was always limited to 9,999 damage. And then you go to Final Fantasy VIII and you're going over that amount. And I'm like, whoa, I can go up to 10,000 now.
Y2K has been solved.
Yeah. So I always thought that was cool. But with Borderlands, yeah, it's just how quickly it was very addictive in that sense where I need to get the best color weapon. And what was the best color? Was it orange in that one as well?
Yeah, it's orange in both of them. It's the same thing. So white is common, green is uncommon, blue is rare, purple is like extra rare, and then orange is legendary. And then they went into like the pearlescence and seraph weapons.
They get a little wild.
Yeah.
In Borderlands 2. But I remember how quickly those white weapons would just, it's like, no, yeah. I don't want those. Are you kidding me?
But I'd always find a white weapon and then like be into the weapon type and then be like, oh, I have to find the purple version of that. Or, oh, I have to find the legendary version of that. And then you find the legendary version and it's always like, it's way out in left field as far as kind of what it does by comparison to the main weapon that you're looking for. So it's like, all right, maybe dial it back to the purple.
Yeah, I remember always getting annoyed when I found a weapon I liked and then you out level it and you gotta go back and farm it. Outriders, a new game that came out, actually fixes that where you can level up the weapons as long as you have a material, which is kind of nice. So
yeah, I mean, Skyrim fixed that. I mean, the fact that you could do that in Skyrim where you could just smith your weapons up or,
oh yeah, you broke that game. I remember you had an arrow, like one-shot dragon killed arrow.
Yeah, it would like basically break the animation. And it was funny because I didn't do it through the traditional methods that like a lot of like the online community does it, where they like glitch the game and they like, basically kind of get like a potion to infinitely reproduce type thing. I actually did it by just using the skill trees against each other in a way where I just like would build something, like build a piece of gear that had alchemy, build potions that would then give me the ability to build better gear. And I would just kind of use like the three trees against each other of like enchantment, alchemy, and I think it was smithing. And it would basically just, I got to like this max level. It does actually top out. Whereas if you use the glitch, it never tops out. You can literally just infinitely numbers go up. But I didn't know about that glitch until after I had already gone totally crazy with the method that.
Well, that was so awesome about that game is the fact that you could just do whatever you want in that regard of just make a weapon that's invincible is always fun.
Yeah.
In Borderlands, I mean, another aspect that I really enjoyed was just exploring that world and all the little secret, like finding all the secret treasure chests. You get kind of to the point of annoyance, the addictive level of looking in every crate you could find to see what you can get. It's like, oh, I can see this being like an OCD person's nightmare because you're just trying to click through every locker, every little box that's lit up so you can open it.
Well, and especially because you're looking for loot midgets too. Like you're not just looking for the loot.
Whoa, we can't call them loot midgets anymore. It's loot tinks.
That's what they were called.
Although tinks, it was, but tinks almost sounds like a more offensive word. Is that what they're called?
More derogatory. I'm not sure that they really cleared that with the PC war.
Very weird. But yeah, you'd find all the loot midgets, and that was one way to get the best weapons. Although they were very rare.
They were super rare. And over time, they actually stopped. Like the thing, I mean, this is going to already get into some of the things that annoy me about Borderlands, but
yeah, we're going like the board here.
The Borderlands like formula is
Borderlands.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah, the formula is amazing. It's just really addictive, really fun. Kind of doesn't take itself too seriously, but if you want to kind of again get lost in that progression system, you totally can. But what ends up happening, and it's so bizarre to me because it is a PvE game, there's really not a PvP element to it. Gearbox just like went totally crazy with like nerf hammers like all over the place. So they'd be like, oh, this is really powerful, this is really fun, or you found a way to combo something and make something like really powerful. Like, let's take that away from the community.
They even did that in the first one?
I don't really know because I didn't play the first one online at all. I played the second one online a lot. Yeah. But even here's the thing that's also
crazy. They patched stuff like that and nerfed a lot of stuff in the later games.
They did, yeah. Here's what's crazy though, is that there is an offline mode and an online mode, and the difficulty scales and changes depending upon which one you're playing. And it's so bizarre to me that they don't kind of do similar to what Overwatch does nowadays, where there's different game modes where it's like you can play kind of the original way the game was designed to be played, you know, the second iteration or like kind of the modern iteration of it. And I would have loved if Borderlands 2 had kept like basically, you know, like a classic, a solo, you know, experience where you could kind of customize it, do what you want. And then the PvE version, which is this kind of like, hey, we got to play in a balanced environment. It's only fair that like, you know, everyone kind of has a good experience together, and you know, there's not one guy who's just Beast Shield, Unkempt Herald, and just like shredding Terramorphous kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we'll get into that in 3 because I feel like they figured that out because they balanced that really well, because you could play at your level with somebody that's like 6 like max level, and they're playing at their level, and I'm playing at my like say level 10 level, and it's like
instances. Yeah, it's super cool.
So it took them a few games to get there, but they figured out a lot of those.
They did, and then they decided to break everything else, including just being able to go through your menu without it glitching out and being terrible.
Yeah, that rough ride. Yeah.
It's still a rough. Like I was playing it on the Series X the other night and thinking like I'm on the most powerful machine as far as consoles are concerned. I'm playing the most recent build of the game, and it's just a technical nightmare. Like there's just like when you drop loot, when you like beat a boss and there's a bunch of loot on the ground, you start running through it, it just screen tears through all the loot, and like there's still just a lot of issues, a lot of aliasing issues that's just kind of inexcusable for the power of the machine. And
even on the Series X?
Even on the Series X.
My friend was playing it on PS5, and I mean, he didn't really go into that detail, but he said the loading times were just like perfect.
Oh yeah, the loading times are amazing.
Because the loading times are insane in 3.
They are.
I mean, 2 as well, but like I mean, 2 is an older system, but
well, even to start 3, you get the loading screen with Claptrap with the loading bar on the bottom. You know what I mean? He's walking, he's dancing across the screen, and then it's like a loading bar.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what are you doing here?
And then they're like, we have to load the main menu. And it's like, why don't you just get the main menu up and then we can load from there? Like the fact that you are loading things before we get to the main menu makes me question your entire architectural decision.
It's kind of a dumpster fire. When that Borderlands 3 first came out, it was a dumpster fire of loading times. Menu times were atrocious. Scrolling
the main area.
Atrocious.
like Sanctuary, navigating Sanctuary, awful.
I loved it. No, I don't know what you mean.
The ship,
Oh my
Sanctuary.
God, the ship. Yes, the ship was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, finding where everything was, and like, oh, Moxie's down there. Oh, I can do the secret path, and then I can get down there, but then I can't get. I got to go the long way back. Yeah, it was nuts.
And it was screen tearing all over the
I
place.
wanted to see those updated graphics.
Did you play, what system did you play on for three?
PlayStation 4.
Okay. And it was base PlayStation 4 or Pro?
It was the base.
Okay. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Like,
it was the base one. Updated slim version, not the original.
gotcha. Okay.
Which
Yeah. So it just, I mean, I think it depends on which version you play, kind of what your experience is. And in some cases, the base PS4 might have even been better than the Pro, just because the Pro was trying to do too much and it wasn't able to kind of hit those marks.
Possibly. Well, let's get back to Borderlands 1. Was there anything you want to say about that? I think just like the other basic stuff for his skill trees, awesome. That made the game so much more fun. You had 3. Was there 3 in the first one? Do you know? Or was
Yeah,
there...
I think there's 3 skill trees, and then each character has a unique ability that you can kind of use every 30 seconds, 20 seconds.
Whatever. Made it the game so much more action and that level of fun. And then you had the boss battles with the cool little name graphics that show up every time you enter your
intros were great.
Oh, I love that. But yeah, I mean, and then just being able to play with your friends at a moment notice.
Friends.
Yeah, friends.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't play the first one with folks because I was trying to just get through it as fast as I could to play Borderlands 2.
Right.
And then I started playing with people.
Played it on easy mode, didn't you? I knew it.
I did not play. I didn't even know there was a difficult.
I remember you told me I'm playing this on easy.
Yeah, very easy actually.
Extra.
You know, this is going to be a total offshoot, but like lately I've been like, I've played so many very, very difficult games lately, like Cuphead and Dark Souls and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I popped on Mega Man 10 on the Switch just to like casually like try it out or whatever. And it was so difficult. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to very easy. And it's actually so easy that if you fall off a ledge, a little guy comes and rescues from the ledge, puts you like safely on the ground. I'm like, wow, this is truly easy.
See,
so,
I think
a little too easy in that regard.
I think given the fact that we've been playing games as long as, because I've been doing the same thing, we've been playing games as long as we have, we're allowed to do that every now and then, because it gets to the point there's so many games coming out. There's only so much time we have now as horrible adults. You got to put it on easy and give yourself a break from time to time.
Totally. It's supposed to be having fun.
Yeah, I do that a lot when I'm playing with my brother because we don't play a lot. So we'll put it on easy just to have fun. And then sometimes, it's too easy and we'd kick it up. But as long as it's like there is some challenge, it's not too, it's still fun. But if it's like too easy, it gets a little silly where you're just like flying through the game. But yeah.
But yeah, so Borderlands 1, I tore through it pretty quickly. I only played as Roland. I did one character playthrough, whereas 2 and 3, I went a little ham on the characters. I really liked most of the gameplay, most of the gunplay, the ending. A lot of people were really disappointed with the ending of with the Destroyer, which I'm assuming it.
I did watch a playthrough of it.
Yeah, I mean it's spoiled in the third one anyway, so or I think it's spoiled, and I think it's actually spoiled at the very beginning of Borderlands 2 when Marcus goes through his like, hey, you want to hear a story kind of thing. So, but I actually thought it was cool. I wouldn't have wanted the vault to have just been a straight up vault, like you go in and it's like Scrooge McDuck's like gold coins, like who cares? That it was kind of cool that it was a monster at the end. Spoilers.
Which is like the second one.
Yeah, it's exactly like the second one. Yeah. I mean, so then I remember actually that moment of finishing the first game. I immediately popped the second game in just to see the difference, and I was blown away. Like I was blown away how different it looked.
It's insane.
It really is. Yeah, and like the snow effects in the first level, and I was playing both of them on the Xbox 360, so it was the 30 frames per second. Significantly downgraded graphics from kind of how you play the game today. which we can kind of talk about the different
Yeah,
versions
you
of.
kind of stuck with 360, and I didn't have an Xbox at that point until my brother and I started gaming again, and then I got an Xbox because that's all he had, and then Xbox One. But yeah, through PS3 and up to PS4, I didn't have an Xbox for a while.
Yeah, so we missed each other on Borderlands 2 because you
I
had a
know, I was,
PS3 and you were playing with a bunch of friends who all had PS3s, and I was playing with people who had Xbox 360s. So we both had tremendous love for the game and didn't really even get to experience it together, which is kind of a bummer.
right. So if we're gonna get into Borderlands 2, I didn't even have a PS3 at this point. I only had, I'm not sure why. I don't know if I had one and then I sold it, but my hype level for Borderlands 2 was so high because that, like you were saying, the marketing and advertising was so appealing. Just like you had this funky dubstep, which was just silly and fun. And then you just have like bazillion guns and like all this
Yeah.
robot action and like talking and then like all the characters they were showing. I was so into it that I had a couple friends that I worked with when I was working at the local grocery Belmont market. There were two friends that were big PS3 gamers, and I talked them into getting this game. I was like, dude, if you guys get this game, I'll buy a PS3 and we can all play together. It's going to be awesome. And so that's what happened. I pre-ordered it, we got it, and we played the living hell out of that game. And it's to this day, it's probably one of the games I played the most in my life.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
for me it's probably for a while there, Fallout 3, a lot of the Bethesda games like Fallout 3 and Skyrim were really high on my list, but I think recently Borderlands, specifically 2 and Overwatch have kind of been, I think they're both well over 1,000 hours in
wow.
each game. So put
Yeah,
a
you were
lot.
really big on Overwatch.
Yeah, still am, still playing it today.
Ooh, snap.
Yeah.
Ranking up the hours.
Yeah.
And
But yeah, I mean, Borderlands 2 had a lot to offer. Like even the main game was amazing. The main characters were amazing, and then they started releasing the DLCs. I did actually play some of the DLC in the first game, but I didn't play all of them. But in the second game, I exhausted the DLC,
oh
like
yeah, big
every
time.
single DLC.
But yeah, I remember one DLC for the first game that was really popular. It was like the Army of Claptraps or something. There was like, I remember hearing that one was really popular. It was like
Yeah, I can't think of what it's called
having
now, but
claptraps in the DLC. But yeah, the second one, gosh, man, I was obsessed with that and being able to play with those. That was probably the last time I really had a big online experience with friends, playing with friends, because we would play nonstop as much as we could together. And I remember even one time we we all hung out at one of their houses. We brought each of our PlayStations and we each brought a TV. So we had
oh
three
wow.
TVs and three PlayStations hooked up so we could all play in the same room. And it was pretty fun. That was the last time I ever did something like that either. Did a little PS3 LAN party.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just gonna say,
And
um,
it's so much fun just being able to play the game and with somebody and have it actually be challenging in some regard with some of the bosses.
yeah, especially some of the raid bosses. I mean, I remember going into some of the raid boss arenas by myself, either by accident or I heard about it and I was like, oh, I want to try this. And you just get decimated. This is like,
Oh no.
this is so difficult. Like, why would it ever be this? Why would it ever be this difficult? And then you would find kind of gear combination. I remember the first time I ever beat Hyperius the Invincible. It was like one of the most satisfying gaming experiences ever. But I went in there with like 3 different Sandhawk, elemental variants, and like you needed to have what's the big rocket launcher? What's like the most popular legendary rocket launcher in Borderlands 2? I'm trying to think of what it's called now. Not
Uh,
the Bada Boom. I think I did it with the Bada Boom the first time, and then I switched. Oh, the North Fleet.
North Fleet. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So you have to have the North Fleet to get like the second wins and stuff. Um, and then I think I used a lot of the Unkempt Herald. I mean, that was my go-to
You
gun.
soloed this boss.
I used to farm him. I used to solo him on like a regular basis to farm the Seraph crystals. I actually I've soloed every single raid boss in Borderlands 2.
I don't even know. I think, well, I did beat him. I think I did kind of like find a way to kind of beat him. I mean, once you get the what is like that ultimate combo? I mean, the conference call was kind of OP for a while, and then
They got nerfed.
it got nerfed. But that was like the weapon to have, I think, in the beginning. It's like if you got a conference call that had an element preferred, I think I got like shock was probably the preferred element, and then you put that with Bumblebee. What was the
Bumblebee tuna?
Bumblebee tuner? What was the shield that like doubled
The
shots?
bee. It was just called the bee. Yeah.
And then you're just like, just
Yeah, it was an amp shield.
waste them. Yeah, and yeah, it was an amp shield. It just was so overpowered. It was nuts.
And then they nerfed that too.
Yeah, they like to nerf stuff, I guess.
I'm very glad they didn't nerf the Unkempt Herald by the end of the game. I mean, that was like the one gun that was a go-to kind of powerhouse. The bee was a little bit, crazy, but it was balanced. I mean, it had no defense, so you'd go out there and you just get wrecked. So yeah, you were a glass cannon basically, right? Like you could do crazy damage, but like you had to be smart about your positioning. You had to be smart about what engagements you were kind of willing to put yourself in. So I thought it was balanced, but I do get the fact that you could go into a boss arena and you could just like smoke Terramorphous with a few shots. So I get why it potentially. But my other argument for that is then don't play with the bee shield, or create play groups where it's like no bees. They don't allow bees in here.
No bees. No bees.
Like that Arrested Development joke. Do you remember that scene in Arrested Development with like Joe brings up like a bee in a jar into the prison or whatever, and his mom's like, they don't allow bees in here.
You now remember that. Although I haven't seen enough of that show. I haven't really seen it in its entirety. But
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, Borderlands 3 was a lot of fun. What character did you play as at first?
In 3?
Yeah. Oh, 2. Sorry, Borderlands.
Oh, 2. So I played Axton first, and
I did too, actually. Yep.
I really, really, even by the end, and even to this day, I still think Axton is probably my favorite. I love the turrets, especially if you are going to solo. If you're going to solo raid bosses, having either Salvador or Axton is really key because in the case of Salvador, you can use the grog nozzle to have in one hand and an Unkempt Herald or something to basically kind of be constantly damaging and healing at the same time. But in the case of Axton, the fact that you can throw out 2 turrets allows you to create some distractions so that not all of the enemy action is on you. Because let's talk about the enemy AI for a second. Like they're all snipers. They're all like pinpoint accurate. Like you just like when you start getting into Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, like you just walk out into a mob and you just get smoked. Like you have it's instantly gone, and then your health is instantly gone, and you're in fight for your life all the time. So it's I think that my favorite way to play the game is the first playthrough. Like when you're playing from level 0 to like say 30 or something like that. That's probably the funnest version of the game. You're going through the progression system. You're getting new guns. By the time you get to Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, you have all legendary gear, but the game is just not as fun for me anymore because you have to slag everything. So everything you come into contact, you have to put slag on it first. And then, so it's like, so now it's like, okay, well, now I have to have certain guns. I got to have the grog nozzle. I got to have the slagga, or I got to use the magic missile grenade from Tiny Tina's DLC to throw the slag on them first. And I think that it just kind of, it just became a chore to kind of, have every engagement have that kind of puzzle too. Not even a puzzle. It was just like, first I have to do that. Then I have to do that.
Sure, but I mean, it made it fun in a way because it's like, why not layer all these systems that you have to jump to and fro to make the game a little bit more crazy? And because they didn't need to, but they're like, yeah, we could do this. So if you want to like add an extra level of like challenge, we could slag them and then tag them, slag and tag, my brother.
Again, I guess maybe if you're playing with other people, it's different when you're playing. Again, I think the solo experience, I've really, really enjoyed playing Borderlands in a solo experience, but I feel like the game was not designed for that. nearly as much as designed to play with friends.
No, yeah, it's definitely, especially the second one, I feel more so than probably the first. I don't know, but there's just so much there that lends to having like a four-player, or is it three? I think it's a three max.
I think it's 4.
Is this four? Oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah, it is four, isn't it? That makes sense since there's four characters. But yeah, I remember I played as Axton too. He was just a lot of fun. The Siren was fun too. But then once they released the Necromancer, that's all I played. I friggin' love the Necromancer. So much fun. Just have the little robot buddy and
Yep. Anarchy stacks.
the anarchy, and then like reloading to heal, and it was just so much fun. That was so.
Yeah, I think you actually didn't you get a bonus for not reloading?
Yeah, if you don't, you have to reload.
You have to empty your clip, I think is
Yeah,
how it
you
works.
empty your clip to get a bonus, but you could also reload to activate anarchy at any time, and it starts healing you.
Oh, okay. All right. I remember using I think it was I'm going to test my memory on this, but I think I either used the infinity a lot with her because it didn't have to reload it, or I would not use it because it couldn't be reloaded. It was one or the other. I
wonder. I can't remember now exactly, but I wonder if you had to let your clip run out to get stacks of anarchy, and then you reload on yourself. You reload without emptying the clip to activate it.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember like you could not I have like a very specific play style with shooters where like I'll burst fire a little bit and I'm constantly reloading whenever I have a chance to reload, regardless of whether I'm out or not. And I remember trying to break that habit was so difficult with her because you wanted to basically exhaust the clip.
Yep.
Let her reload, let the computer reload automatically. That was kind of the way that you kept the anarchy up.
Yeah, because you get those stacks, man. Your damage is just like whoop.
Yeah, you would just devastate.
And then I would just I would just like Swiss cheese enemies. It was a blast. Yeah, and all the DLC. I mean, especially Tiny Tina's DLC was so much fun.
So creative.
What was it called? I can't remember.
Attack on Dragon Keep or something like that.
Yeah,
Assault on Dragon Keep.
Assault on Dragon Keep. Yeah, and then you have all the enemies were like wizards and all these like Dungeons and Dragons-esque references and or stuff like that.
Yeah, the dice roll, 20-sided dice rolls and stuff. It is called Assault on Dragon Keep.
Okay. And I always liked that they just try to reinvent the game when they do DLC. So like all the chests typically will look different, and then areas are so much more alive. Like I think one of them is kind of like a cool oasis area, and so that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was the first DLC, I think, the one that you get the Sandhawk in, which I'm already forgetting. Captain Scarlet and her pirate's booty. Yeah, I mean that gets into a topic that I think we need to talk about on a whole, right? Is the art style, the fact that it has this like hand drawn animation. It was
the
like
outlines.
Yeah, the really thick black outlines, comic book style. I remember when I popped this in the first time, I was like, I don't ever want to play a game that doesn't look like this. Like this is so cool. Like it's just perfect art style.
It was beautiful, and it's like a cosplayer's dream come true because if you ever see any of the cosplay stuff people have made, it is really cool to see, especially when they do the face and they get all the line work and the makeup perfectly, and they look like they just came out of the game. And that style is just really, really cool. It has kind of like this edgy comic book look in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's super cool. I have seen a lot of that cosplay, and they have like very specific like contour makeup that makes it look like it's like cell shaded, basically.
Yeah, they like look a certain way, and it just looks perfect to the game. Yeah. Handsome Jacks, especially because you get like the stuff that would hold on to hold his face up, and yeah, the art style and the story. The story was very engaging. You had this very dark, villainous, like doesn't give a shit enemy, Handsome Jack, who's just off the walls, nuts, and just ruthless. And it was pretty satisfying.
Yeah, and he thinks he's a good guy. That's kind of a key characteristic of his his arc, is that he's kind of got he's a corporate like CEO of Hyperion, one of the main weapon manufacturers. He thinks he's the good guy. He thinks everybody else is the bad guy. And he's basically trying to kind of rid the world of vault hunters, and he thinks everyone's a bandit. And yeah, his character was kind of complex, and there's like tie-ins to like with his character to the other characters that you meet and stuff. So the story definitely didn't disappoint. You think it's going to be kind of just like, oh, go in, point and shoot, get gear, try to get the best gear, and then you're done. And they managed to tell a heartfelt story, shit on the kind of corporate mentality of just kind of like bigger, better, best, more money, and kind of the power of greed and all that kind of thing. And then they also interwove the main storyline into the DLC storylines too, like in Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep. It's her way of grieving with Roland passing and stuff, and like she's kind of she demonizes Handsome Jack, which he's like the handsome wizard or whatever.
Yep.
And I think she also has, when you beat the whole thing or whatever, like Roland is like saved instead of
yeah. Yeah, they really do tie it in a nice way. Even the fact that they have all those free DLCs that they put out in holidays, that's one thing to mention, is that they're so kind of loyal to their fan base in that game in a way where it's like, here, have some free stuff that's like stuff they didn't even need to do, really. Even though they do kind of like, even with them nerfing stuff, I see that they're trying to do good in some way, even though I don't think it's necessary all the time.
Yeah.
Heads, they're trying to make that game community a little more balanced. It's
kind of the George Lucas syndrome, where it's like, if you keep trying to tweak your art, like eventually you get to a point where you might kind of sand a little bit too much off the sculpture, or put a little bit too much color to the point where you lose some of the detail, kind of thing. I think that's kind of what ends up happening.
Yep. And along with the story, the dialogue, the voice acting was really good too. Especially Handsome Jack, and
he was awesome.
Claptrap. All those things coming together just made the game really good. And then we didn't even mention all like the types of guns. It's just like insane, all the brand names. And you said Hyperion, and then you have like each weapon manufacturer, and it's like brilliantly crafted too, because they're all different weapon manufacturers. So it's just like this creative way of like introducing all these unique weapons into the game.
And it creates the ability to have, storylines with each one of those weapon manufacturers. Like, I'm pretty sure in the newest game, the CEO of Atlas is like one of the main characters. You know what I mean? So it's like, and like Mr. Torg is obviously like the head of Torg. So like, these like, story options and character creation options that like kind of the personality of the guns are like Torg is all about explosions and being over the top, and all his guns are really I think one of the most notable one is the sword explosion that like shoots a bunch of swords out. I don't know if you ever got that.
I don't know if I got that. I don't know if I got that one.
It's pretty cool.
Sounds kind of familiar though.
I think you actually get that in Tiny Tina's DLC. When you go into the main courtyard, when you first get into Tiny Tina's like little like fantasy village, Mr. Torg is like in like the shackles, like the wooden thing where your hands and your head are in like the I forget what that's called, but and you do a bunch of missions. What's that?
I don't know.
You do a bunch of missions for him, and then he gives you the sword explosion. And when you fire it, yeah, you had to have gotten it. When you fire it, it shoots like 4 or 5 swords that spin.
Okay, yep.
And then they explode when they hit the ground on top of that. So it's just it's over the top.
Yeah, stuff like that just made, even though like that weapon was probably useless, that game was like, it just makes it so much more fun, huh?
I said it was actually really good.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah,
and but like there's so many weapons where it's like, okay, let's just make they're just having fun with it. Let's like make a weapon with swords come out of it, or let's make a weapon where you create like a tsunami wave effect, and then
the Sandhawk. Yeah.
So there's like something for everybody in that game. Where you want to explode stuff, you want to have weapons like the doll that are like short bursts, or I always liked the crap, why can't I think of it now? Boom, the
Flat off.
Russian Valdov. Yeah, I always liked the Valdov weapons.
Flat off.
Valdov,
Flat off.
Valdov,
Gandalf.
Gandalf,
It's Vladov.
Vladov.
Yeah.
I always
VL.
said Valdov, Valdov.
I can tell because I just said Vladov like 14 times and you just
Yeah,
said Valdov over it each time.
yeah. Well, I say things weird.
Vladov is awesome. I mean, that had the Shred-a-Fire. I'm trying to think of some. Oh, the Infinity Pistol was Vladov. It was one of my favorites. Yeah. I always carried one of each element of the Infinity Pistol just because it was like a great option if you just needed to like not worry about ammo, and it was good for cheesing some of the stuff too.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, and then the prequel. Should we go to that? That was a lot of fun. You get to play as the enemies.
Yeah. You got to play as Claptrap for the first time. I'm trying to think like I'm trying to like have. I just had an emotional reaction to pre-sequel because
the woman with the sword, or the sword and shield, was kind of cool.
Amara, is that right?
No, Amara's in 3. She's the siren in 3. And I don't know her name. I thought it was like Athena or something.
That might be right. That sounds right.
You have the robot guy. What's his name?
What's status? He's the one I played. So the reason why when you said pre-sequel, I was kind of like I went brain dead is because I wasn't a huge fan of the pre-sequel. I was so burned out. I was so burned out on the second game, and the anti-gravity jumping was fun.
It was a lot of fun. I did like that a lot.
But it also, I felt like and I did like the fact that there was some more verticality and like the level design and stuff. But like I felt like the guns just sucked in that game. Like the guns were just terrible.
I don't remember them, so yeah, they must have. They weren't memorable in my opinion. Although
there was one,
the characters' abilities and stuff.
Yeah, the guy that I played as. Oh, you know who he was? I know who it was.
He was the boss from one of the second.
Yeah, he was Wilhelm.
Wilhelm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Valdov.
Valdov. I'll still say it. I don't know. Wilhelm.
So yeah, so he was like, it was like the Wilhelm version where he was like a man instead of the robot, because in the second game he's a robot, and it's the pre-sequel, so it's before the second game. He's actually like a person. He's like a cyborg.
Before he becomes the giant robot, that bald guy.
Yeah, before he overdoes it like Hermes from Futurama when he wants to get all the cybernetic parts. To become the most proficient bureaucrat. Yeah, so I only played one character through, and I tried Claptrap, but they also put Handsome Jack in, but the
right.
The gimmick was that you're playing as his clone.
Right.
Actually Handsome Jack, because I think Handsome Jack was still an enemy in that game. So the only way they could make you play as Handsome Jack, but also still fight against him, was to have a clone character, which it was okay. I mean, I don't know, but
it was fine. It was the prequel. I mean, there was just whatever. And then they had also that ice lady, which was kind of cool. But I never played it enough. I think I played Athena throughout. She was fun with the shield abilities and stuff. But
yeah. I will say the end boss in that game, that was also the only raid boss when the game first released. I loved the design of the art design and the character design. It was like that weird kind of multi-dimensional being that had like a multi-face head.
Andros?
It was Andros. That's exactly who it was. It was me.
Andros. Andros's enemy is my enemy. Why do
I forget what his name was? It's funny. I thought we were actually going to be only talking about Borderlands 2, so I didn't do a ton of research on some of these other games beforehand. But
what the hell, man?
But I'm realizing now that I actually want to kind of go back and replay some of these just to kind of give them a better shake, because I do think that pre-sequel had a lot to offer, but it just came out so close to the Borderlands 2. It came out when I was still playing Borderlands 2. Let's put it that way. Like I was still in full swing with Borderlands 2, and the pre-sequel dropped, and I was like, cool, let's go to a new game. And then all the guns were terrible. I liked the grinder, the fact that you could actually level your guns up. You could put 2 purples and a legendary
Right.
together, and it would make a legendary version of whatever the legendary gun type was that you put in.
That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't think they carried that on into this one, did they? No.
And
No
no, it's back.
level up system that I'm aware of.
But I will say the legendaries are so plentiful that in 3 that like you don't really need to worry about it. I mean, I have every single legendary in Borderlands 2 on various save files. I ended up having to create mule characters to like basically all the stuff that I didn't want to use. And with the guns that I really liked, I collected it in every single element as well. And the drops were insane. I remember sitting there fighting Doc Mercy hundreds and hundreds of times, 3 and 4 hour farm sessions where I was literally just killing the same enemy over and over and over again to try to get an infinity pistol. And it would drop and I'd be like, oh, this is the wrong grip, or oh, this is the wrong element, or oh, I wanted a different scope on it. And I farmed all the perfect versions of all the weapons that I loved. And then I died inside, and I've never been the same since. So when the pre-sequel came out, I hated it because it was
burnt out at that point.
I was just so burnt out on it. And like I said, the main motivator was getting kind of the best guns. A lot of the gameplay in pre-sequel, you're shooting things in the air. They're flying all over the place. It's harder to hit stuff in the air with like very inaccurate guns. You know, it's not like you're playing with like Call of Duty style guns, you know what I mean, where there's pinpoint accuracy. Even in the third game, the accuracy of the weapons is significantly better. So fighting enemies in the air is a lot easier. But
but it was fun when you did pull it off and you're just floating. You're like,
yeah,
guys. But yeah, it definitely wasn't terrible, but it was just kind of like a side note.
Yes, it felt like DLC. It felt like an extensive DLC.
Yeah, in a certain way.
Yeah.
Then they had the Telltale games, which I didn't really play.
I own those. I don't have them opened yet, though. I kept them sealed.
Oh, nice. I have them on PS3 downloaded because one point they were on a super sale, and I started to play them, and they are kind of fun. I kind of dropped off. So then we got 3.
Then we got 3, which I have very strong opinions about.
I have had a lot of fun with it. Not as strong a story as 2. The twins, they were fine. I mean, I see what they were trying to do with this kind of like these kind of like social media star enemy types.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, it was like, in my opinion, overall, I just was like more Borderlands.
Yeah, I think that I think when the Calypso twins came out, they got a lot of shit from the community. I kind of sit somewhere in the middle. Like, I didn't love them, I didn't hate them. I thought the character designs were fairly cool. Tyrene was a little bit annoying here or there, but like I think it was strong. You know, it was cool to see a lot of the returning characters, but there was one character. I feel like they squandered some opportunities. Like, they have this kind of like coming of age story with the blue-haired teenage girl who's kind of like becoming the next Siren. And I can't think of the Maya. She's like Maya's like protege type thing. That whole thing kind of fell flat on its face for me. Like, I feel like it could have been cool and it could have been like, you know, very endearing, and instead it was just, like, the only kind of like emotional moment is when Maya dies. Like, you're kind of consoling her for a second, and then, you know, she's kind of back to being like bratty teenager type personality, which is just like, I don't know, it's not very interesting. Didn't have much of an arc to it.
Yeah, and a lot of emotional attachment.
Yeah. But, you know, the gunplay significantly increased, you know, as far as like the quality of the gunplay. I loved it. The environments were incredible. The environments were amazing. I hate the fact that they can't build a stable version of the game, even to this day.
Yeah.
It just, maybe it's better on PC. You know, maybe
have they not released like a mastered version, a remastered version for the next gen?
No, because it's basically so new that, you know, the way that they do it nowadays is they just keep updating, right? So it's like, it's just a new update file. So they've just continuously updated it. and there's been a couple of builds I'll turn it on. Actually played a whole playthrough of, so for this one I did do two characters.
Okay. What do we
I
got?
did the operative, which I can't even think of his name. This is so bad.
I know what's going on with our brains.
I don't know. It's late where I am.
Z? His name began with a Z?
Zane.
Zane.
Thank you. Teamwork. We're gonna do this. We're gonna get through this together.
We got it. We got Zane.
And Flack was the other character that I played. And I most recently did Flack. And that playthrough was amazing because the build that I was playing on, like the version of the game, I was playing on a Xbox One X, but it was before I got the Series X. And I really liked the way the game played. The load times weren't too terrible on the One X. The game was super stable. The menus were stable. There was not a lot of screen tearing. There's a little bit of screen tearing here or there, but like overall, pretty good experience. And ever since I've been playing it on Series X, it's just been trash. So
I played as Flack as well, and then Amara? Is it Amara or
Amara?
I think it's Amara. The Siren. She's a lot of fun, and it's a nice change of pace from going from Flack to somebody else who has different powers. And Zane and the robot mech warrior character, I didn't really get into.
Mose,
yeah. It was always funny because Mose's robot, like you couldn't spawn it everywhere just because it was so like there were some spots where like you can't. It would come up and say like you can't use this ability here because there's not enough space. Like, okay,
fun. That's fun.
Yeah, let me not. Yeah, fine.
Bring in the fun that you can't use their main ability.
Yeah, but I mean, Amara and Flack were a lot of fun. I liked Flack's little rack attack was always fun for crowd control, or you just use his fade away and just annihilate enemies.
Yeah, his little pets are pretty cool. I like the little robot pet.
And now they have going back to like leveling up weapons. I think they introduced something in this newest season. Is that what they call it? The newest DLC is like you can use Iridium now for actual stuff, and I think it might be for I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I think you might be able to upgrade weapons rarity or some crap or level. But you can also you have a new skill tree as well.
Oh, I think I saw that. I think it was a new, yeah.
I know I haven't checked Mose or Zane's, but Amari is
Mario and Luigi.
Now I can't think of it. Oh, great! I forgot. But Flax is like a mine. He has like a mine ability. He throws or a trap. He has like a trap. Let's not talk about that because I don't remember anything about him. But they did add new skill trees that I have not gone back to, but I'd want to.
Yeah. I think the third game was kind of a logical progression. I just think that the second game has a magic to it that the first game and the third game don't capture, and pre-sequel definitely doesn't capture. I don't know. It's something about that kind of combination of everything you were talking about, the art, the characters, storyline, the actual gunplay. It just all comes together perfectly. And I think even like the pacing too, whereas I feel like in the third game, the pacing like really suffers for me. Like there's a lot of areas that just really slow down. They introduced this new thing that absolutely just drives me insane, where you're fighting a boss and you are just like, you're ready to devastate. And it's like, I'm invincible for like this next phase. And you're just sitting there being like, I guess I got to wait for this and fight like a bunch of guys that I need for a second wind, that if I was trying to be strategic, I would leave alive, but you want me to kill them so that we can end this phase, so that when I go, so that you can then do some invincible move. And then I won't have anything to get a second win from because you made me kill them to get you out of the invincibility phase. What an incredible design. What a wonderful game this is.
Yeah. Well, they're going back to the thing of like trying to keep it a balanced system where you're not cheesing through the game. And
I don't want balance. Then change, like, it's like what I say about like Dark Souls.
They want you to be challenged.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Like you could in Borderlands 2.
When it comes to mechanisms of difficulty, that is not an acceptable mechanism of difficulty. That's like me saying I beat the game by turning it off. Like with Dark Souls, it drives me insane when you get in certain situations where the enemies make it so that you can't move, and that's how they make the game difficult. When they take your ability away to play the game to make it difficult, that is an unacceptable mechanic. That is a bad game design.
It is a very non-creative mechanic, and I love it. No, it's like it's very it's just not good game design. It's just like, what can we do to make this boss fight last longer? Oh, just make him invincible. What are you kidding me? What are you thinking about? Just give him an invincibility bar.
Yeah.
I agree with you. It's just like they're trying to like find a way to make like people suffer, I guess.
Yeah, it's like when you're thinking about a life bar of a boss.
Yeah,
there's a couple things that you don't want that are going to annoy you as a gamer. The one that we just talked about, where the life bar just stops moving. The other one would be that like you get the life bar down and then it recharges. That's super frustrating. It's like all the work I just did is undone. And then obviously you don't want the life bar to go down too quickly, because then you feel like it wasn't difficult. So what does that leave? It leaves the fact that your mechanics in between have to be designed in a way where you feel like you're making progress. It is challenging, but you're not dealing with a bullet sponge, and you're not dealing with, something that kind of dies with one or two hits. So
it's a creative way, and they do it with some enemies, I think, in the second game or even maybe the third one, where they change elements and you have
perfect design.
You just change the element that they're weak against. And even if it's just regular bullets, like they're immune to every element except regular bullets. I don't know. Yeah, it's like there's much more
perfect design
to do it.
Yeah.
Or
the multi bars
to the point where they can devastate an enemy. Let them devastate the enemy. They got to that point already.
Right. They worked hard at it. Let them enjoy the OP nature. Again, it's a PvE game. It's not like they're getting money at the end of this game. Like, oh, we can't have them win too easily. Right. We're going to have to pay out at the end of this, or that they're going to like ruin somebody's competitive score or something like that. Like there's literally no downside to this other than the fact that Gearbox is worried that people will get bored with the game and they won't play it anymore and they'll lose revenue. That's the real driver for this whole mechanism. You can say that they're trying to balance it for the community, but at the end of the day, I really feel like it has to do with keeping the online community relevant for as long as possible to make as much money as possible.
Right. Well, there's one thing I do know. The Wii Balance board was definitely they were trying to balance some stuff with that when Nintendo did that.
I do think that the aim is balance, but I think sometimes, so a perfect example of this is I can remember in the pre-sequel, there was a gun called the Rose or something like that. It was a laser gun.
Rose?
Yeah, it was called the Rose. It was a Ghostbusters like laser gun. You know how it had like the beam guns where it would be. I
remember there being a Rose weapon, and it was a Torg weapon though.
And you're thinking about the third game.
Oh, whoops.
You're thinking of Rosen's Thorns, I think. The one like yeah.
I love that one.
I'm trying to think what this anyway. The point is it was the best weapon in pre-sequel. It was by far the best weapon in pre-sequel, and they said we're going to balance things. So what did they do? They nerfed it. Well, guess what? They nerfed it down to a level where it was still better than any other weapon, but it wasn't as fun to play with anymore. So everyone, the whole reason why their reasoning for nerfing it was that they wanted to get people to play with other guns. They wanted people to, experience their whole game, which again is like this weird manipulation. Just let people play with whatever they want to play with. Like, why do they have to do it the way? Why do you have to? It's like going to some kid's house and it's like, no, you're not playing the game. I want you to play it the way I want you to play it. You have to do it with my way.
Which I love, by the way. Gearbox, keep doing what you're doing. I'll give you money.
And then they brought this weapon down to a point where it was still the best weapon in the game, but it just wasn't as good as it was before. So that's why I'm not really that stoked to go back and play pre-sequel now. So kind of opposite effect.
Yeah, I have no interest in going back to that ever, really. And just given the fact that there's so many other games, period. And even 2, I think I finally put a nail in that coffin. Although I do have it transferred from PS3 to PS4, so if I ever do want to play it, I can, which is nice. All of my old save files.
Yes, that's
thankfully I was able to do that.
That was the whole reason why I bought an Xbox One.
Oh, really?
Because because I went from Xbox 360 to PS4, and I think PS4, in my opinion, was the superior console of the generation between PS4 and Xbox One. It had better exclusives, was a better machine, like the whole 9 yards. But there are certain games for Xbox One that I wanted to either replay or have those saves transfer over, and the Handsome Collection was one of those. So I actually have.
Oh, nice.
I brought out some versions of the game. That was the Handsome Collection version for Xbox One, which is pretty cool. But yeah, the original version
too as well.
What's that?
That is pre-sequel as well, right?
It does. It has both. Yeah. So I bought the original version for Xbox One.
Nice.
I bought the Game of the Year edition, thinking like this would be the ultimate version of the game, and I would never buy any other version of the game after this, which was a fool's errand because then they came out with the Handsome Collection,
which just like ruined it. Everything else,
but far superior versions. I mean, 60 frames per second. The graphics are significantly updated. Probably what a lot of people were experiencing on PC when we were playing it on consoles. And then the same thing with the game guides too. About the collector's edition, game guide when it came out, and then they came out with the Game of the Year edition. This is actually a pretty rare book.
Those are cool to have because those aren't being made anymore.
No, they're not. And I actually really liked the way that they laid out the game guide and the fact that you could go and look at all of the. See if I can actually find a page that has one. Yeah, like they had like the weapons guide. Like here's all the Hyperion stuff.
That's fun. Classified. Okay, relax.
Yeah, I know. It's like because they don't want you to know the legendary. I think that's the bitch. Maybe it was censored.
Favorite weapon in Borderlands 3, by the way. Oh, it's the fireball Mario gun.
Pew, pew. So cool. There's your Valdorfs.
Valdorf. Valdorf. Vladoff. Vlad.
There you go. You got it.
Shit. I hate life.
You win.
We have a wiener. I was gonna see what I had for games, but I know I have the Handsome Collection, and that was my thing.
That's the best version. I mean, honestly, especially on you said you have it on PS4, so I tried to do a save on PS4, but again, that burnout was real, and I was trying to do another character up to 72, and I was like, I can't do it. So I ended up on 2.
Oh, on 2, yeah. That. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that again. I think I have Axton and the Necromancer are the only ones I have to 72, and then the rest are like 60 or 50, or 60, I think. I know I got them all to 60 because I was just obsessed.
I think I did 3. I did Axton, the Gunzerker, and then the Necromancer I did to 72 as well.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I did the Gunzerker. That's the only one I didn't do. I wasn't into Self.
Yeah, everyone said he was the best character. He was fun, but I don't think he was the best character.
He was the best for nerds that like used him to like over OP with his dual things.
Yeah, he was
fun. I always just went fight for life, and they're like, "That's what you're supposed to do. You're going to fight for life, buddy. Come back. Did you know? You didn't know."
Yeah, he was fun. He was fun, but he wasn't like you said. I mean, the Necromancer had some cool mechanics, and again, like I think that what I think it is. I think it's the fact that the characters in 2 were just better. Like their abilities were cooler, more unique. Like it made you feel like you had more freedom around the experience. And I feel like in the 3rd game, freedom is just not really it's not on the roster anymore. They don't care about freedom anymore. Like Zane's abilities are kind of like whatever. He has a shield. He has he has a turret that goes out and kills stuff, but it doesn't really do a ton of damage.
The teleport thing is supposed to be a lot of fun. People seem to like that a lot.
That is cool. That is actually one of his abilities.
Not necessarily. I guess it is teleport, but like you make a clone and then you can teleport back to that clone.
Yeah, that is really fun. And there's some cool abilities that like will activate. Like there's like shields, and it's like when you activate DigiClone, this will happen or that'll happen. You do more damage, so you can kind of basically like set your clone up somewhere that's like strategic, go position yourself somewhere else, and just switch back and forth. That is a lot of fun.
It explodes.
Then again, we're dealing with these AI that have like pinpoint accuracy, that as soon as you switch back, there's zero lag time. They immediately know where you are and they start shooting at you. So
Right.
some of the bosses like Wotan are really rough to play solo.
Which one is
Uh,
that?
that's the one in the Malawan takedown, the boss at the end of the Malawan
Oh
takedown.
God,
Again,
no! Don't even talk to me about that guy.
it's the
I, I
shape of
couldn't
the
beat. I couldn't
shields.
even beat him.
It was miserable. I've only beaten him a few
Not horrible.
times and it was not great. And I was looking for a specific gun, and of course it didn't drop. Oh, you know what? I do want to talk about one of my favorite things that was in Borderlands 2. In Tiny Tina's DLC, there's the badass round of slaughter. Did you play that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Soloing that, and then you get the big ogre guy and you've got to let him level up, and then you have to kill him, and then you get a chance to get the ogre legendary. So much fun. That was so much fun.
I always loved letting those guys level up in general. Whenever I ran into those guys, it
Yeah.
was always a lot of fun. Like
Yeah.
wow, and then their script gets so amazing too.
Yeah.
It's like the found you in Fallout. Found
Totally.
you.
Totally. They like big and lumbering and they're chasing you. Yeah, it's awesome. That
All the comic stuff in that game in general is just amazing. That we didn't even. I think we barely even touched the surface with that. But all like the little comical nods to like different like franchises, be it movie or other games, were just so fun to run into, and just experience little Easter egg stuff like that was always fun.
yeah. All the weapon cards that have the red text that are basically references to something else is just incredible.
I think one of them I always liked was like, "How will I ever finish my comic book collection?" or something when the guy dies.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Something about his comic book collection.
Yeah. There's like really obscure ones too. Like I remember I'm a massive Futurama fan to the point where like I know like obscure lines in it. And I remember getting a gun that said a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. And it's something that Fry says.
All the flavor text on the weapons was always
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like even like the real subtle things, like, there's a lot of deep cuts in there that are really cool.
yeah. It's like all in all, it just leads to like a really fun, satisfying game. Even with 3, even with all like the annoyances it did have, it was still like a blast to play through and check out the new characters and
Yeah.
all, just see
It was
what
awesome.
they had in store. And I think the thing that made 2 so much better is that it was a big jump. Like you went from, it was a big jump graphically, story. It was a big jump in so many ways. And you go from 2 to 3, and it was like a little jump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's not too much other than like graphical and like some different like stability, and obviously there's differences, but like it was huge jump for between 1 and 2 that made it just like, whoa, this is so much better of a game now. All this stuff to do. And
Yeah. I do think that 2 also just had that magical formula to make it really addictive, whereas 3, you saw the strings, like you could see the strings on it, where like you weren't fooled by the kind of psychology that they were trying. Like, I don't know, it's just like I feel like Gearbox kind of just showed their hands a little too much on it, where it was just very obvious every time like they were trying to control something or do something. Like it just takes you out of the experience. Whereas I feel like the second game is very immersive. Like you lose yourself in it. You're just in that world. They actually came out with a VR version of it. Did you ever play that or see that?
oh, I did hear about that, but no, I never saw it or played it or looked it up or anything.
Yeah, I really want to do that just because I bought the Skyrim one too, and I haven't played that either. Most of the VR things I've done have been, well, I played Resident Evil 7 in VR, and that was
The first
something.
time I experienced it was with you, and another friend had the PS4 VR set, PSVR, and it was fun. I did get a little nauseated at some points, and you always have to do like the teleportation thing to walk. I don't know if they've gotten better at that.
I think they did change that with in Resident Evil 7. I don't think I had to do that.
No, I
Because
would
that
love to get. I've been actually considering getting an Oculus Quest because they're getting the standalone one where it's all in one headset for like
Mhm.
$300. So the pricing is kind of going down, and the availability of just not having to have a PC that couldn't really run it is nice. So
Yeah, I hear that Half-Life Alex is actually
pretty cool.
one of the best VR games that's ever been released. So definitely interested to play that. But yeah, I want to pick up the Borderlands 2 VR game and just try it out, just because it'd be so cool to actually be in that world and look around and see the racks up in the sky and like the
Yeah, I wonder if the novelty of it is kind of wears out pretty quick, but it might be fun to check it.
probably.
Is it? How do they do it? And is it like that a straightforward copy of the game, or is it like certain segments that you can play through that are in VR?
I think it's the whole game.
Oh, is
And
it?
what I would imagine, which I think would be really cool, because I played the London Heist and really enjoyed that, is that the shooting would be a physical aiming and shooting, which would be amazing. That'd be a
Oh,
lot of fun.
that would be fun.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, I think the
yeah,
consensus is Borderlands 2 wins it for us.
I do
For us.
think it's the best. It's the best of the series. I do think 3 improved some things, graphics, some of the gunplay. I think is actually superior in
Yeah.
Borderlands 3. Um, but yeah, I think Borderlands 2 is the sweet spot.
It really is. And I know they'll keep making them and we'll keep playing them. So I'm curious what they'll do next whenever
Yeah.
that happens.
So what are you playing now?
Now I did beat finally near Automata.
I think it's
That
yeah.
was a fun game to get through. I only beat the first playthrough because there's apparently like 27 endings,
Yeah.
but some of them are just like 2 seconds long. I'm not interested in getting all the endings. I just look them up and watch them.
Yeah. That,
So
that seems like better.
I did that. It was a lot of fun though, and the gameplay is very creative, and all the little robots are fun to interact with. So I beat that on Game Pass. Game Pass is awesome. I freaking love that thing. It's like never have to buy a game again and just stream a game or when it comes out, and especially now that they're putting a lot of um, A-list games on there, like Outriders came to it day one. There's a Dungeons and Dragon game coming out, Dark Alliance, that's going on at day
Oh, I
one.
saw that. Yeah. That's
That
pretty cool.
looks a lot of fun. I've been waiting for a game to play like Dark Alliance with my brother because it's not an FPS. So I feel
Mhm.
like all we ever play that's co-op is typically FPS related. I mean, there's other stuff obviously, but most of the time it's like an FPS.
Yeah.
I beat that, and then there's an indie game that just came out. I want to check out. I haven't played it yet. I think it's like Nakatu Boy or Norita Boy. It looks like the animation looks really cool, so I'm looking forward to checking it out. That just came to Game Pass as well. How about
Very
you?
cool. I don't remember the last game that I beat actually. I've had like a really hard time with like picking games up and then not actually finishing them. So I think it might have
You
actually
and me
been
both, man. You and me
I think
both.
I think it might have been Neo 1 was the last game that I beat. I had like played it a little bit. I put it down. I picked it back up. Got obsessed with it. And that actually is one of the games that I'm actually playing right now. I'm playing the second game on the PS5 collection,
Oh, nice.
which is a lot of fun. Really, really awesome
The
game
game,
design. And
the sword play and the whip, or like all the different weapons, and that I played a little bit of the first one, and all the different weapons are just so satisfying. They did such a good job with the combat in that
yeah,
game. Um, personally, I enjoyed it more than Dark Souls just because it's samurais. I mean, I'm a samurai guy. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, you and I are kindred spirits in that vein, so I get it.
Yeah.
I think that it's hard for me to, even when like now that I've played and platinumed, a lot of the Souls games. So I've not just played them once. I've played them like 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 times.
You're a
I
maniac.
It's hard for me to pick a favorite. I love them all for such different reasons, and Neo is no different. Like Neo is right up there with those games where it's like be very hard for me to say, oh, I like Neo better than Bloodborne, or I like Dark Souls 3 better than Neo, or something like that. Like they're all 10 out of 10 masterpiece games, with almost nothing wrong with them. Like there's like very few things I can think of that are really wrong with those games.
What if you piled Ninja Gaiden in that? What do you
There's
think?
something
Huh?
there's something wrong with that game.
Because I know you're a huge like the
loved
3D
it.
Ninja Gaidens. You were obsessed with those, and that
I
then
was.
those are like those came out before Dark Souls, right?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they
And
were
they have
precursors.
that level of difficulty, that
I mean,
jump.
the very first, it's been fun to kind of go back to some of the 16-bit, 8-bit era games on the SNES Classic, not to be confused with the SNES Classic, which I think is the official title for it, but and the NES Classic. And I look at games like Ghosts and Goblins or Super Ghouls and Ghosts. There's like different iterations, right? But it's like that was kind of like the Dark Souls of its time. It had like that motif of like a knight. He's fighting a bunch of like, you know what I mean? And it's like cool to
That
look at it like
jump,
that.
the
Right.
timing, like the jump was it was all about those jumps. If you didn't time those jumps perfectly, you're effed, man.
Yeah, you were done. And then Ninja Gaiden was arguably the hardest game I played as a kid. Like well, aside from Silver Surfer, which I think I showed you when we.
Ooh, yeah, we don't want to talk about that.
But aside from that,
You
Ninja
get past
Gaiden,
the beginning level, isn't there like a little ducky in the water you see?
yeah, and it's just you just hit it, it's like boom, it makes that noise every time you die. It's that ultimate sad
Just float
scream.
off screen.
Yeah, I feel like we need to get a screenshot and throw that up. But
That should be we should try and play that somehow.
yeah, I mean, I still have it on original NES. So,
Yeah, that'd be fun to play.
but yeah, I think that Ninja Gaiden, was a really really hard game. I always loved the motif. It was ninjas again, like ninjas and samurai. Even since a kid, I was a kid, like that was something I was really into. So when they came out with the 3D versions, I was just like, I have to overcome this. I have to play it. And it was the combat was so amazing. The gameplay was so amazing that it kept me compelled throughout it. And then when I got to Dark Souls, it's funny. I didn't like Dark Souls when I first played it.
Yeah.
Um, I was actually playing a lot of Skyrim at the time, and it took a while for me to really kind of pick up what Dark Souls was putting down. But once I got hooked, I got hooked. But yeah, so another game that I picked up recently is the Mass Effect trilogy, which just came out. I think so I never finished 2 and 3. I played the first game, so I'm interested to actually replay the first game remastered and go through those.
I never played any of those, but I heard that it feels like the old games, but just better graphics.
Yeah, and those games were really really cool. Well, at least the first game was really really cool in terms of story. And the last game that I picked up recently is Resident Evil Village.
The mistress.
Grab the steelbook for it as well.
You're gonna double?
No, this is just the steelbook. They sell it separately now.
Oh, that's what they do.
Yeah, so it was in Best Buy. I think it was like $20. So yeah, so excited to dig into that. Excited to actually get some use out of my PS5 because honestly, I haven't really been playing it that much. But the Village will be one that I will be motivated to flip it on and try it out.
We're having fun with that. The Village. I mean, everybody loves the vampire lady apparently online.
Way to spoil it for me.
They want her to sit on their face.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I've seen some stuff, like some screenshots and stuff, but yeah, it looks cool. I mean, the Resident Evil games are usually pretty hit or miss. They either like knock it out of the park. I really think that Resident Evil 7, again, didn't finish it because I'm terrible, but what I played of it, like arguably one of the scariest games I've ever played.
I never played it.
It's good, especially with you.
And that was it. I was done. I was like,
yeah.
6 was the last one. I mean, I'm not done, but I actually own the remakes of what did the remakes do? 2. They remade 2.
Yes.
And 3.
2 and 3.
I don't have 3 actually, but I have 2, and I played a little bit of it so far, and I haven't. So I've been wanting to do that. I'm really into, as much as like bad feedback as this like 5 and 6 got. I really enjoyed those. They were a lot of fun.
We beat 5 together online.
Yeah, we played the hell out of 5. That was a lot of fun. We used the egg to get like the golden guns or something.
Yeah, I think it was like the Magnum 44. So it was like the special you had to get.
So for some reason, I was a little turned off, and I do want to play. I actually own 7 as well. I just haven't tried to play it yet.
I'd be interested to hear your feedback on it because so you and I have a common favorite game, or one of our favorite games, Dead Space.
I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Pretty sure.
No, I love that game. Dead Space, man. I would love to see a remaster of that first game because that was incredible.
It was absolutely incredible. Perfect game, 10 out of 10. But anyway, I really feel like Dead Space was probably, when I think of in terms of like truly scary games or games that just like had like perfect scary atmosphere, Dead Space is one of the first that comes to mind. I think Resident Evil 7 is, it's obviously a level up from that because it's so much newer, right? But like it's a truly scary game, like especially in VR. It's to the point where I had to take the headset off. And I just don't get scared by games like that particular game, Resident Evil 7, even Dead Space, like the first like little while you're like kind of scared for the first few screens, and like the first time like you walk into a corridor and there's smoke and something screams and comes down, you're like, oh my god. And then like it might be in an elevator and there's like the necromorphs and they're prying the elevator door open, you don't know what to expect. But once you kind of see what they're doing, it's just an action game from there on out. And you're just like, oh, okay, like, yeah, smash the bodies, blood splurts everywhere, oh no.
Yeah, you gotta smash them.
Yeah, got to find the items in their bodies. And then, but with Resident Evil 7, I think that up until the point that I played, like they just keep the scare at, it's always at like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 nonstop, because a lot of it is just nothing happening. A lot of it's just you walking around with like nothing happening, and then when something does happen, it's terrifying. So
Yeah, I really got to commit to playing that at some point. It's just like we're now at like the age of backlog video games, and like you said, I'm the same way. There's a bunch of games I haven't beat. I still have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Ghost of Tsushima. I really want to beat. Yeah, so quite a backlog, and Game Pass doesn't help because they're just throwing games at you. Like, here,
yeah,
games, more games for you,
more
please.
games free.
Or games. Yeah,
cool. Well,
well, there you have it. There's our little Borderlands rants of our love for game. Like one of my top games. I'm sure it's one of yours too. I mean,
yeah, I don't know where it slots in, but there was a time where I would say it was in the top 3 favorite games ever. So
oh yeah, for sure.
Right up there.
Well, there you have it. I think that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody.
See you next time.
Yeah, stay tuned for next time. Peace be with you. Bye.